Let us continue reading this book by Uriah Smith, Daniel and Revelation. We are now reading Revelation chapter 8 and verses 9 or 10 to 11. My Father in heaven, I thank you and I praise you for this moment in time that we could share, that I could share the message of truth. I pray in the name of your Son, through your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. Uriah Smith comments, in speaking of the locality of the events predicted by this trumpet, Mr. Barnes has this note. It is particularly that the effect would be on the rivers and on the fountains of waters, if this has a literal application. Or if, as was supposed in the case of the second trumpet, the language was used was such, the language used was such as had reference to the portion of the empire that would be particularly affected by the hostile invasion. Then we may suppose that this refers to those portions of the empire that abounded in rivers and streams, and more particularly those in which the rivers and streams had their origin, where the effect was permanently in the fountains of waters. As a matter of fact, the principal operations of Attila were on the regions of the Alps and on the portions of the empire whence the rivers flow down into Italy. The invasion of Attila is described by Mr. Gibbon in this general language. The whole breadth of Europe, as it extends above 500 miles from the Aegean to the Adriatic, was at once invaded and occupied and desolated by the myriads of barbarians whom Attila led into the field. And the name of the star is called wormwood, denoting the bitter consequences. These words, which are more intimately connected with the preceding verse, as even the punctuation in our version denotes, recalls us for a moment to the character of Attila, the misery of which he was the author of the instrument, and the terror that was inspired by his name. Total extirpation and erasure are terms which best denote the calamities he inflicted. He styled himself the scourged of God. One of his lieutenants chastised and almost exterminated the Burgundians of the Rhine. They traversed, both in their march and in their return, the territories of the Franks, and they massacred their hostages as well as their captives. 200 young maidens were tortured with exquisite and unrelenting rage. Their bodies were torn asunder by wild horses or were crushed under the weight of rolling wagons, and their unburied limbs were abandoned on public roads as a prey to dogs and vultures. It was the boast of Attila that the grass never grew on the spot which his horse had trod. The Western Emperor, with the Senate and people of Rome, humbly and fearfully deprecated the wrath of Attila. And the concluding paragraph of the chapters which record his history is entitled Symptoms of the Decay and Ruin of the Roman Government. The name of the star is called Wormwood. Kate. We'll read the next verses the next time. May God our Father to bless you and his Son be gracious to you now and